LiSTNR production.
Hey, Bension Siebert here with The Briefing. Banksy is the artist behind the most famous, subversive, satirical street art arguably on the planet. Maybe you remember the man holding the bunch of flowers like a Molotov cocktail, or the girl with the outstretched hand as a heart-shaped balloon floats away, or the peace dove wearing a flak jacket. Banksy has created art in the rubble in Ukraine and on the walls of the West Bank. He, and people think he is a he, released 100,000 £10 notes replacing the Queen's portrait with the late Princess Diana's portrait in 2004. Yet, after decades of prolific artwork across the country, no one seems to know who Banksy is. Unbelievably, he's managed to stay anonymous all this time. But that might be about to change. A legal case involving two disgruntled art collectors threatens to unmask Banksy for the first time. So to talk us through the theories as to who the real Banksy might be, this legal case and what happens if he's exposed, we're joined by LiSTNR Investigations Editor Clair Weaver. Claire, you've had a close brush with Banksy, haven't you?
Yes, although I can't say I could identify him. I was covering a launch party for some of Banksy's work when I was a showbiz reporter for the daily London newspaper, The Evening Standard, about 20 years ago. We were at this pretty cool, edgy event in which I think was an emptied-out retail space, and there were a few well-known people there. I remember the chef, Jamie Oliver, was there, and we were told by an organiser that Banksy was there too, but of course we didn't know what he looked like, so he could have been anyone. Maybe he was undercover as a security guard or a waiter or hiding behind one of the paintings. I don't know. But
maybe he was Jamie Oliver.
Yeah, maybe he was.
Huh?
Yep. Well, that's true. He does like using masks. Oh, there's a new theory, another theory. But yeah, look, at that time, Banksy was already becoming a big deal in London with all his artwork, although nowhere near on the scale of fame that he's got today.
So why all the mystery about this guy? This search for Banksy's real identity, it's been going on for a really long time, right?
Yeah, it has, ever since he first made his name as a graffiti artist, which was around the turn of this century. So among those whom the finger of suspicion has previously fallen on are the Bristol street artist John Doe, graffiti artist James Aime, and the Massive Attack singer Robert Del Naja. Another clue emerged in a lost interview from 2003 with Banksy that surfaced last year, and in it, a journalist asks if his name is Robert Banks, and Banksy replies he's Robbie.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You're happy? Are you happy for me to use your name? And the Independent has. Yeah. Is it Robert Banks? It's Robbie. Robbie, okay.
But the theory that's got the most traction is that he's Robin Gunningham, a former private school boy and gifted artist who got into graffiti as a teenager from the city of Bristol in the west of England. Now, the Daily Mail publicly named him in 2008. In their investigation, apparently they could show Gunningham was routinely in the same place as Banksy. And they even met up with Robin Gunningham's mother, Pamela, to ask if her son was Banksy. It was reportedly really weird. Halfway through the interview, she claimed she didn't even have a son, then that she wasn't even Pamela Gunningham, and that the electoral roll must be incorrect. Yeah. So, look, maybe she was just trying not to give the game away, or maybe it was the Daily Mail spinning the story. Maybe they weren't speaking with Pamela Gunningham at all. We just don't know. And look, I should say here that Gunningham and or Banksy have denied this identification.
Is there also the possibility that Banksy was originally one person, but maybe now there are multiple artists working under the same pseudonym?
Yeah, look, that's certainly another credible working theory. He'd need a team around him, given operating all his work, authentication, travelling to war zones and dealing, plus fighting a proliferation of fakes and copycats is big business. Pest Control is the company set up by Banksy in 2008 to be his point of contact, and they officially authenticate his works.
So right now the whole thing is coming to a head. Banksy has become involved in a legal case to do with an art piece that may or may not have been done by him. Can you tell us about that case?
Yeah, so there's speculation that this latest legal dispute over his work could actually force Banksy to reveal his real identity. So two art collectors are suing Pest Control over its alleged refusal to authenticate Monkey Queen, which is a print that depicts the late Queen Elizabeth as a primate in jewels and a crown. They claim they've been trying to verify the work for 3 years years with no answer. Now, if it's real, it'll be worth a whole lot more than if it's not, as in $100,000 plus. Banksy does, though, have a habit of poking fun at the elitism and pomposity of the art world. Just look at what he did with that live shredding of a painting at an auction a few years ago. So some argue...
that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All the gasps of horror and shock. So some argue that he could use his anonymity under the umbrella of pest control to just withhold authentication just because he feels like it. So as part of this legal case, the art dealer's legal team are likely to argue that Banksy should be ordered to reveal his actual identity.
So if that happened, what would the ramifications be?
Yeah, so part of Banksy's fame is built in through his anonymity, the myth and mystery of who he is. And if he was exposed, the worth of his artwork could see a drop. In theory, he could even face criminal charges for vandalism. He does describe himself as a quality vandal. Or criminal damage. And although that seems unlikely given his work is almost guaranteed to increase the value and attraction of the locations he targets, it's still a possibility. And it's actually easy to forget he's a criminal. He narrowly escaped being caught by authorities installing an inflatable doll dressed as a hooded Guantanamo Bay detainee at Disneyland in 2006, for example. And technically, all those Princess Di notes that he created are forgery. So ultimately, anonymity allows him to continue pushing the boundaries with the work he does and that, let's face it, we all want to see.
Could the people who've launched this legal case be undermining the value of the artwork that they've bought if they're threatening to make Banksy reveal his identity? Seems counterproductive.
Yeah. There's a nice irony in that and probably one that Banksy himself would appreciate if it wasn't threatening his own anonymity. He really does like to make fun of the art world and what they'll do. And ultimately, you think as well, like taking legal action, that's going to cost a whole lot of money too. It might even end up costing more than that piece is actually worth.
So true. So even if we can conclusively prove who Banksy is, in the end, should we?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't think so. If I'd got the scoop on his identity as a young reporter at that launch party 20 plus years ago, I'm sure I would have named him in a heartbeat. But today, I reckon his anonymity is just part of his allure and his magic. Look, the nature of his street art is that it's all done undercover, without permission. It's subversive, spontaneous and provocative. We just don't know what he's going to do next. And we don't really want him to be stuck inside, a prisoner of his own public profile, creating art for commissions and joining that pompous art world. Let's just let him be free to be Banksy.
I'm very suspicious of you, Clair Weaver. I think that you have a secret motive that why we're not going to identify Banksy. Tell us now, are you going to reveal it on the briefing? It'll be an exclusive.
Well, you see, this is the thing. Everyone who knows who Banksy is refuses to reveal his identity. Lots of journalists have gone out to Bristol and tried to find out. So if I did know, I wouldn't be telling you. So maybe I do know.
I think it's you. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Claire, for joining us on the briefing. Clair Weaver there. That's it for the briefing today. Check back into your feed at 6 tomorrow morning to hear from us again and hit follow so you never miss an episode. If you like what we do here, we'd also really love you to share the pod with your friends and family so they can hear the news that matters every day too. And while you're chatting with your friends about your favourite briefing episode, we'd also like you to ask them a question. Have you ever ordered a medical certificate online? If yes, we want to hear from you as part of a special investigation we currently have running here at The Briefing. Best way to reach us is via our DMs on Instagram. Just search The Briefing Podcast. I'm Bension Siebert, and as always, thanks for listening.